The presenting sponsor of Upmarket is Aereo, the best place to grow and manage your real estate media business online at aereo.com. That's ARYEO.com.
Coming to you from the Upmarket Suite at the Palms Hotel Resort and Casino in fabulous Las Vegas, this is Upmarket, a podcast about the business of real estate photography and media. My name is Reed Fish. I'm the CEO and a co-founder of Upmarket Media. And Mark Corcoran, not here. I mean, he's here. He's actually on site.
You keep on looking here, though. Is he here?
No, I don't see him here yet.
Can we superimpose him in post?
Yes, I would like that. But he's downstairs learning. So good for him. So we're at PMRE 2025, Photography and Media for Real Estate Conference here in Las Vegas. And this is kind of a continuum of our Road to PMRE episodes. We're obviously doing this one on location. And we're so happy that this year, once again, we have been partnering with iGUIDE in order to bring you these Road to PMRE episodes. So please go check out iGUIDE.com. Check out all iGUIDE has to offer. Wonderful bunch of folks there. And they also like to party a little bit. I found out on this trip. So even more reason to love them. But I'm very happy to be here with this is a guy I've wanted to have on the show for a long, long time. Finally have the opportunity to do it today. Kind of one of the old guard in the real estate media world. It's Vince Collura, who is now the founder of The Collective. Vince, you really are kind of OG in this industry.
It's so weird because I feel like I'm not old guard, but I mean 2003.
So that's longer than most people in this industry. So I really don't I do want to get, just for anyone who doesn't know kind of your history, can I just get a really quick nutshell of kind of your career trajectory?
It was a dark and stormy night.
No.
So started Gotham Photo Company in 2003. When I didn't really know what I was doing at all. I had a tech company and I was a platform play at first. Ended up stumbling into great photographers, and built a really healthy business. Kind of dominated Manhattan for about a decade. And then 2014, sold that to VHT, and then there was a good 9-year journey sort of climbing up, really reworking VHT in a lot of ways.
And VHT was, for people who don't know, like a bigger photography brand that was kind of had a nationwide profile.
Yeah. At our largest, we were 1,100 photographers across the nation. So I definitely think there was a good chunk of that time that we were the largest, and I'd like to say in a lot of ways the best, right? Just home for photographers, at least at that scale. And then 2002, we sold to Matterport. 2022.
Yeah. And then that sounds like it was a lot it
was so much fun. You see how much fun it is right here?
Yeah. That's great streak. Watch on YouTube because Vince is a very striking, good-looking guy. So I think you want to check that out. And also, you get the eye candy over here with host. It's very disgusting.
I don't know
candy,
what to do.
But
I feel so awkward now.
So can we talk? I want to talk a little bit about. You may have heard that there's some controversy right now with Matterport. Yeah, I know. So there, for anyone our listeners who don't quite know, there's CoStar, which now owns Matterport, CoStarHomes.com, and Zillow are like being little bitches with each other, and they're just they're fighting. I think
I'm so glad you said it because I'm like, can I say little bitches on the show?
And so now Matterport cannot be shown on Zillow, and like in the aerial listings, you can't have the Matterport. It's like
that's like they're playing a game, right? Like it feels like politics in the U.S. in the year 2025.
Right, there you go. So it's real functional.
Yeah. And like it's just little bitch mentality, right? Like a lot of mudslinging. And I think I shared this with you last night, right? Like neither company is acting in a way that I'd be excited about aligning with, right? But I think Zillow's latest move is kind of like the lower, right? Like CoStar is not preventing Zillow from showing Matterport tours.
Yeah.
CoStar is preventing Zillow from showing Matterport tours that are CoStar owned. So the stuff that they're generating for apartments, homes.com, stuff like that. Zillow is then taking that message and refactoring it and creating a different perception and making their own decisions, right? Like the Aereo platform should be showing user-generated content that's paid for by the subscribers, but they're not.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to talk to them about that.
Give them what for. Give them what for.
Yeah, I have a pipeline to them. So what's your, I mean, to me, it seems like there is this fight. And it's these giant corporations. There's nothing we can do about it. They're going to do what they can do. And I feel like the collateral damage is us.
Oh, totally.
And and so I'm just like, do you have advice for real estate media people on how we can kind of, what should we do?
Yeah. So the advice on that, right? Like it's a clash of the titans, right? And they're gonna do their thing, and we don't know how it's gonna play out, but I think what's going to happen ultimately is this will further sort of erode 3D market share, period.
Okay.
Right? Because Zillow is making some effective moves of, sort of degrading Matterport's position, and they're doing their best to fill that in and grow Zillow 3D's position. So the best case scenario for Zillow on winning is more properties have that abhorrent Zillow 3D product on it, right? Which is not a good user experience for the consumer or the content creator.
Yeah.
So it's not a good position to be in. But ultimately, I feel like 3D has lost so much ground in what we do that it's become, this war is less of a factor for content providers than it would have been just 5 years ago, right? Or 4 years ago.
So,
right?
So you're seeing like a trajectory of lower 3D adoption.
I am. We see numbers where it looks stable, but if you look at it, right, 3D adoption for most providers is lower, right? And then it's all just backfilled with Zillow 3D. But nobody's buying Zillow 3D, they're buying placement.
Yeah, exactly.
So, this is like, I don't know what it's going to take for these companies to, rethink their strategy and sell people what they want, right? Because that's not what's happening now, right? Like they're forcing these products down people's throat to get to a means for something they want, right? The big incentive for Zillow, right, is, okay, you get better placement. And then on CoStar's end, right, like it's part of their subscription package. So, there is a desired object, but this 3D as the delivery mechanism just makes no sense.
But I think there, look, and I'm a little biased because I love these guys, but I think there's an opening for iGUIDE. I mean, if they can be this, agnostic, hey, you can post an iGUIDE wherever, and it's like, and but Matterport could pull the same thing and just say, well, no, we, our lawyers read their terms of service, and it's just really not allowed.
Well, I mean, Matterport's not going to display iGUIDE content or anything like that.
Yeah,
I think, look, iGUIDE still has like a great position because they've really created the most photographer friendly like plan and like sort of ecosystem. So if you think about like Zillow's 12 like entrances into photography, right? They tried to work with content creators to get content through their platform, and they never really nailed like something that like rang true for the priorities of a content creator. iGUIDE has that in their favor. Matterport got their start partnering with photographers, right? And then did a bunch of direct to agent stuff and came back to photographers. And, it was like a cycle, but they never really nailed it. So like iGUIDE is in a great position, but I'm going to say between you and me, but it's really between me, you, me, and them, right?
Well, like just Molly.
Look, is 3D an effective tool for marketing properties, right? Like so much of the front face of marketing property is about creating an emotional connection and an emotional response. I actually think 3D is super valuable. And, I was sharing this with you last night. Like I have papers on it. Like it could change the world, but I don't know if its position is at the front of marketing real estate. Nobody's heart rate increases when they see a beautiful 3D tour.
I would push back on that just a little bit. I do think there's not a big emotional connection to it, but I think buyers and there's a wow factor especially on the Matterport when you see the dollhouse and there's and we're all jaded. We've seen 5 million of them, and it's like who cares? But like most people still have never seen one, and when they see it, they're like, oh, this is so cool, and then. Oh, I walked through. Okay, and and then the practical things of like, I can go in and measure things, and all that. Well, that's it's very useful, right?
Yeah, I mean that's where there's so much utility, right? Yeah. And when I say not effective in marketing, I'm talking about the front end of marketing, right? Like for consideration, they're amazingly effective.
Right.
In fact, once you have interest in a property,
right,
a Matterport, an iGUIDE, floor plan, right? Like any of these devices are really great for consideration and sort of like the tactical end of like the process. But when you're visiting a property or when you're sitting on the couch with your partner, right? Like the imagery is what generates that initial like, honey, you like this.
Yeah,
right?
Absolutely. Well, I'm curious. You talked about, you've been in this position where you've been able to think about 3D for the past few years in a really, macro way, in like this, like the 30,000 foot view, right? Which I think most of us just don't think about that. So I'm struck when you have said, I think 3D could change the world. Yeah. And I think you were kind of touching to me privately about how, it can democratize housing. It's an avenue to make housing more fair for people.
Yeah.
So can you speak to that a little bit on what you're,
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, I think I might have given you this example, right? Like, okay, so Reed, you're going to buy a property. That property is going to be 600,000.
Yeah.
It's going to be 2 million, whatever it is, right? And there is going to be some documentation associated with that property. You have some paper that tells you what you're getting. Mm-hmm. But the density of data, what you're actually learning about that property, is so low compared to the dollar investment. Whereas you're kind enough to give me this. Do we have to bleep out the name of the soda?
No.
Dr. Pepper Zero, right?
Dr. Pepper Zero, yeah, delicious.
And on it is a nutritional label.
Right.
This probably cost you 80 cents because you bought a 12-pack, right? The amount of data I get per dollar is great.
Right.
I know exactly what I get. When you go to the store and buy apples, you know how many apples, you know how many pounds of apples, you know where the apples came from, right? We don't have that in real estate. And when we think about, sort of the level of commitment, I mean, generally real estate is the biggest thing anybody ever does with their money, right? And it's where they're building their lives, building their family, right? We know nothing about what we're getting. And that is true for everybody involved. The insurance companies, they know very little about the property they're insuring.
Right.
The mortgage companies know very little about the property that they're backing. And all of that unknown, that translates to risk. Risk translates to cost, right?
Right.
So right off the bat, if one or any of these companies could position themselves properly and make 3D ubiquitous, you start to be able to change like the fundamentals of the economics of those industries. So that's like sort of like phase one, right? Like I believe digital twin adoption, right? Where the world equals 100%, right? That could make housing more affordable, period, like full stop. So there's that, right? And then you look at all of the other like considerations for homes. I mean, real estate is so interesting because it's such a massive investment. And, every property has like a relative cost to its town and its community, right? But again, there's some local ordinances. It's kind of the wild, wild west, right? There's no like single source of truth for property data. And, as such, you don't really know, right, much of anything, right? In terms of, think about emergency response, disaster relief, stuff like that. So when I think about, look at Matterport, we all want to see, of course, you want to see a world where your product is successful and we're Kleenex, right? Like there's a tissue box in every house, right? Yeah. There should be a digital twin for every home. So when we look at that world and we say, well, what does that mean? What is the value there? You start to attack some really big things. And then if you went deeper, where you just accept that that's the truth, there's a robust digital twin for every property, you start to unlock all sorts of fun things, right? Like at Matterport, they've done, I think this is public, they've done lots of like object recognition, stuff like that, right? So you fast forward to a future where there's a digital twin of every property. There's smart home devices that can update said digital twin of every property.
Right.
At a minimum, hey Siri, where are my car keys becomes a reality. But more interestingly, and kind of like better for the world, when there's a fire here in this hotel, the fire marshal and the fire response team, right? They have real-time data that they can, sort of leverage to quicken their like ins and outs. So, even if you're just shaving seconds off of those experiences, in the long run, you save lives.
Right.
So that's where it gets really exciting because the IoT devices are there. Like the tech is there. It's just nobody's trying to glue it together. And all of these companies are focused on the real estate transaction, the marketing, as the opportunity. Whereas, would you pay $300 for a Matterport digital twin of your property and market it? Maybe, right?
Yeah.
Somewhere between 11 and 20% of agents said yes.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
But would you even notice, $30 a month of cost going to a suite of services somehow, sort of built into the line items for all of your utilities.
Right.
No, you wouldn't.
Right.
So like that's where like I believe there's this huge opportunity, and I feel like it really could change the world.
Well, I think in so many real estate media professionals' views, like one of the plays on Matterport is they just want they don't really care. All they care about is the data, right? And so is that true? And what are they going to do with it? What's the play on having the data?
So yeah, interesting. Like, do they really just care about the data? I think that is true across the board, but you have to ask what data, right?
Right.
Like, is Matterport interested in invading your privacy? No. But is Matterport interested in robust aggregate data where I'm still talking like I work there, right? Where they can make commercially viable observations and implement that across builders? Absolutely, right? Data in and of itself, we believe it to be valuable, but it only has value when you figure out the economic sort of like transaction. Where's the opportunity to leverage that? And that's where, sort of like my nebulous vision of 3D in the future, you're assigning that data, you're assigning the value to that data based on the consumer. So, a robust digital twin of your home that tells you what's behind the walls and exactly to the, centimeter, all of your measurements, how much is that worth to you? I'm not sure, but to your mortgage company that's leveraging, finances,
right,
that's worth a lot. To the insurance company that's figuring out, what parts of the house are above, below grade, what parts are going to fail first when there's a flood, it's worth a lot. So yes, like I would believe, and I would say that anybody who's in 3D and they're not interested in the data, that would be foolish, right? Because we're creating these very valuable assets. And again, today and for the last 15 years, they've just been used at the forefront of marketing.
Right.
But where the real opportunity is, I mean, just imagine just having a constant database of every micron of your home.
Right, but they almost have to start then approaching things from a different avenue of like they're still going to need people to sell this. Matterport still needs it to sell, and if it is just based on this real estate transaction, and we're seeing lower adoption, then maybe the bigger play is to start approaching mortgage lenders and all that stuff.
And that's been done to an extent. I think. Look. Where we are today is we're very, very far down the wrong road, right? Because real estate is so fragmented, right? Like I've got to make that successful sale, one agent at a time, one home at a time, maybe one brokerage firm at a time, right? But look at other models, right? Like whoever decided in the U.S. history that people needed driver's licenses and we needed VIN numbers and we needed to register all that stuff, right? Like that's the model that I would be looking at, which would be far more centralized. Because again, what's the value? Well, these properties exist. We have this somewhat nebulous sense, right? They're sending out appraisers, they're doing these things, they're investing. But they're again piecemealing it, right? So yeah, I would look at like if I was in that business still, right, and incentivized to do that, I would be looking at a far more centralized approach. I think there's legislation that would need to happen.
Oh yeah, well that'll happen.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah.
How old are you? I don't know if I'm old enough.
I don't know. In our that's the thing. In our lifetimes, I don't know, man. It's
well, I think with legislation, it's one of those things where it never happens until it does, and then there's controversy around how quick it happened, and
Yeah. Well, and you can just see like it would just take somewhere like California to do it. It's probably going to be on a state level first, and then
It's funny when I wrote up one of many like sort of like vision plans around this. The thought was to work with a location in California, right, and like identify that as a test bed, right, like somebody who would be innovative enough to commit to it, right, and then you still only build out a fraction of the value. But that fraction of the value is far greater than the value that's being realized today at $300 a pop on a listing.
Let's take a quick break. Then we'll do our social media sidebar. Then we're going to come back with some more talk. And then at the end of this, we got action items.
All right.
Yeah, you know it. Oh, yeah, you got a lot of action.
I got to start thinking of stuff.
Yeah, I know, me too. Hey, did you know that Aereo.com is a sponsor of this podcast? Well, it is true. Aereo.com sponsors the Upmarket podcast and has since the very, very first day. And now we're at over 100 episodes. And thank you, Aereo, for being with us for over 100 episodes. I just wanted to say we appreciate it. So thank you very much. And also, we encourage all of our listeners to check out Aereo.com because, you know, they are the all-in-one place to book, have your clients book, and you invoice and you deliver, and it creates property websites. It integrates with Zillow 3D. It does this, it does that, it does the other thing, it does the other thing, it does another thing, it does that other thing as well. I mean, go check out Aereo.com, ARYEO.com. Use the code Upmarket and you're going to get 15 free bonus listings. Recently stayed in a hotel. I was up there in that hotel room and I thought, man, I could use a floor plan. You know, sometimes you just like, it's kind of like an addiction. Sometimes you're just like sitting there and all of a sudden you just start jonesing, you know, you just start like shaking, like you know, you don't want to go back to that well, but you do, you know it might be bad for you. So you just got to do what you got to do. And so I whipped out my phone, opened up that second floor app, and I made myself a freaking floor plan. And you know what? My need was satiated virtually instantly because I walked through that hotel room and I just, tap the button and boom, instant floor plan. I knew the square footage of that room. I knew where all the fixtures were. I knew where the window was, the door, those were all on the floor plan and it was instant. The second floor app, I mean, my goodness, get in there, get that app because you can make a floor plan and you might want to do it when you're actually out shooting a house and then you can do the floor plan and then you can deliver it right to the client and like upcharge them like $100 or something. Ooh, that's what I like. So that would have, that was my hotel room was more than that, but I wish I could have charged them $100 for that floor plan because I, got a nice discount. But if you want to get in on this action, go to secondfloorapp.com. That second floor app, all spelled out.com/upmarket. And you are going to get a free month of service. And you can, that's like 30 days of service. So you can stay in 30 different hotel rooms over that 30 days and have 30 different floor plans all instantly. secondfloorapp.com/upmarket. All right, social media sidebar time. Of course, we are Upmarket Pod across all social media. We've had so much fun content here at PMRE up already. So, you can go back in our feed and check all that out. I'm also Reedfish LYSM on Instagram, my personal. And, check out my other podcast, I Love You So Much. I Love You So Much Pod on ILYSM Pod on Instagram. And, check us out on YouTube. Vince, where can we find you on
you can. I'm actually not on IG. Oh, yeah. Well, funny enough, I'm not on Instagram. Action Vance on most other platforms.
Action what?
Action Vance.
Action Vance.
Even though my name is Vince, it is Action Vance.
Oh,
it's a holdover to my
It's very funny.
Story.
You seem like a person who would be on Instagram.
Yeah.
It's just like, just the hair alone.
Yeah. I definitely
Instagram
was, right? Like
I
had a really healthy Instagram account that featured a lot of the special effects work that I was doing.
Right.
But then it got hacked and it was a disaster. And I essentially just threw my hands and I was like, all right, fuck this, I'm out.
Yeah. Well, your life's probably better.
Yeah.
Okay. But does the collective have
the collective has an Instagram.
Yeah.
Yep. The collective_RE.
Okay.
And the collective on pretty much every other platform.
Okay, great. We'll get in, I think in the second half, we'll get into kind of what the collective is, but you still have a bunch of photographers working for you and they're kind of a little more independent. Yeah. So what is your kind of company strategy in terms of how you're approaching social media?
Sure. So yeah, good question. And I want to say I'm 63 days in, so still figuring it out, right? Yeah. But looking at social media company strategy, it's really, show the work, but tell the story, right? So like, we're not posting as often as we should be, but we're posting with purpose, really in support of the messaging that I've developed with the photographers, right? In terms of like what are the important things that we want to sort of drive home with the clients that we deal with.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah, I mean, posting with purpose. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. Like when you ask what's the collective all about, like shoot with purpose is sort of a a tool, right, that I had started using back in the VHT days when sort of like coaching photographers to, break out of the 3-wall, like robotic, like I'm going in, popping my tripod down. Like we're not doing an iGUIDE or a Matterport here, right? Like this is photography. You have to think about composition. Shoot with purpose is definitely sort of core to how my photographers look at real estate media.
Good social media tip there. And so let's take another quick break, and then we're going to come back with more talk, and we're going to have action items at the end.
Awesome.
All right. Hey, I've got Skylar from iGUIDE here. Skylar, hey, many of our listeners are looking to grow their business. Can they do that with iGUIDE? Let's be honest.
100%. That's what we're in the business of doing. We've been at it for over 10 years, Reed.
I knew the answer. I was just setting you up. Jeez.
I'll take it all day. No, something that separates, I would say, iGUIDE from some of the others when you're looking at a 3D tour or floor plan provider is the capture speed of our camera. You can get through a 3,000 square foot home in about 15 minutes. So what's that mean to
love that.
A photographer is doing more shoots in a day? And then in terms of delivery of our floor plans, virtual tour back to you, depending on what you pick, can be as quick as minutes and sent back your way. But typical turnaround is about 4 to 6 hours.
That's super quick. So
pride ourselves on the fast, accurate both capture and delivery of our output.
I mean, so many ways to grow your business. I mean, we, like working with architects. I mean, you've got your CAD drawings, you've got, all this. I mean, basically anything you can dream of, like you can kind of try to upsell to your clients and expand your client base, because it's not just for residential real estate or commercial real estate. There's other applications, of course, as well. So go to goiguide.com and check out all the latest with iGUIDE. Also give them a follow on Instagram. Go_iGUIDE. Hey, are you looking for an ethically sourced AI to handle some or all of your photo editing? Well, look, check out Fotello.com. That's FOTELL.com. I'm sorry, it is fotello.co.com. See, that's a very easy mistake to make. I made it. Don't you make it. Go to co.co, not .com. Fotello, look, you pay per listing. That's one of the crazy things about it. So you pay, whatever the fee is, and it's a very low, reasonable rate. And you can put 30 photos in for this listing, or you can put 100 photos in, and it's going to process them. It's going to cost you all the same amount, and it goes quickly. I mean, most shoots are processed within minutes, and the quality is phenomenal. And also, Fotello is now an all-in-one delivery system too. You can deliver photos directly from Fotello. You can, if there ever is an issue with any of the photos, they do have human editors on call where you can submit revision requests. So many great features about Fotello, and they are only getting better each and every day. And it is an ethically sourced AI, which we, of course, appreciate. So go to fotello.co and use the code Upmarket, and you are going to get a free month up to a $500 value of photos. So that is a big deal. Fotello.co, $500 worth of photo editing if you give it a try and tell them you heard about them from Upmarket. Your friends at Upmarket. We are back with Vince Collura here at the Upmarket Suite at PMRE 2025. And Vince, you just mentioned in the social media sidebar, you have this new company, The Collective. It's 63 days old at this point, as on the day of recording. This is a big pivot for you in a way, you know. So what is The Collective? Kind of what's the idea behind it? And tell me about it.
Yeah, so The Collective, obviously it's my response to finding myself out of a job very abruptly, right? After, building VHT to where it was. the collective was this opportunity, right? Like I wasn't entirely sure that I wanted to stay in the business for a second, right? But, a lot of the photographers at VHT that I had built a lot of their business together with, they reached out to me pretty early on. And, I thought about it and I said, okay, if I want to do this again, right? Like get back into the business, what do I want to do differently, right? And, sort of back to basics, right? Like do what works. And what I realized was my success, both with Gotham and VHT, came from having a really tight-knit group of photographers, right? Like there's so much value in community that, that was ultimately how VHT scaled and how we had such like high retention of our photographers, right? Because like VHT, like Nathan Kuhl referred to us as a photo mill so many times, right?
Right.
We were large and we were cranking out work, sure, but we had really great retention. And as a company, how do you have really great retention when you're, the payouts were similar to the payouts of the other guys, right? Like there's not many differentiators there. But I learned community was a really important factor, and that was a lesson that I learned a lot. I sort of like doubled down during COVID, right? Like found myself at COVID having, we had like 27 markets online. Every market had different conditions, right? Like it would be like hours later, I would find out a new rule. Oh, we're allowed to operate here. We're not. So during COVID, I launched VHT Live, which became a daily like live show for a little while because I needed a format to constantly be just transparent and streaming up to minute data. And, we did that for like 98 like episodes in the 6 months, like the COVID was really bad. But what came out of that was a really, really tight community of photographers. And then funny enough, PMRE or PFRE back then, right? Like enters the scene. And, it was kind of this reminder that photographers in most situations, we tend to be lone gunmen.
Absolutely.
Right. Yeah. So, what was the void that could be filled? Right. And it's not community for community's sake. It's community so we can make each other better. Yeah. Right. So photographers give each other critique on work, right? There's workshops. In fact, some of my photographers are hosting their own workshops with other photographers. And, I found a lot of value in that. And that was sort of like core to my thought in, that day after the VHT announcement came out, what am I going to do next? It was like, okay, let me do this, but let me just do the fun part, right? Like, let me, instead of spending 5% of my time with my most important like business partner, like workforce, let me spend 95% of my time with that. And then the business stuff, right? Like, look, I'm 23 years in, 24 years in, right? There's a lot that I already know. Sure. Those are motions to do. And, fortunately where we are today, because there's so many platforms and tools out there, there's a lot that I don't have to think about. So I can focus on what's important. So yeah, what's different about the collective is it really feels like a true partnership between myself and currently 30 independent photographers that happen to align with the collective.
Right.
Nobody who's part of the collective needs it, right? Like their clients follow them.
Right.
But they're there because they want to be there. They want to be part of something bigger.
And so are you actively recruiting?
I'm not actively recruiting, right? There's more photographers sort of like in the wings, right? That I'm having conversations with, but the thought is to grow thoughtfully, right? Like I'm not looking to get to the VHT numbers, right? Like when we closed VHT, we're at 360 photographers.
Okay.
I don't need to be there anytime soon.
Right. Right. I think I love this idea of community, and I think it's what informs PMRE, and it's why it's so powerful. I mean, in a way, it informs this podcast because it's like creating a space where, we can all feel supported. And I think that's the biggest thing. It's like we're all kind of pushing each other and there for each other. And, feeling that community because we are such lone wolves. I've, time and time again, I've talked about it here, how it's like having, people see you and feel your pain points and like understand what it is you've gone through is so powerful, and it just makes you feel less alone in the world. Yeah. And even though I think we so many of us in this industry have that bit of a loner streak in us, we still need it. It still feeds your soul,
Yeah. And I mean, think about it. A lot of photographers tend to be introverts.
Yes.
Right. And so when you think about real estate photography, it's so interesting because here we are by nature often introverts, but our success is entirely dependent on our ability to make connections with those clients, right?
Right.
And then we get back home and we're back to being introverts, right? So I really feel, community is such an important vacuum, right? That has started to be filled, right? Like I really feel like, it's funny, I said to Angie downstairs that I think part of the reason the collective looks the way it looks was because of my experiences at PMRE year 1 and 2, where I was like, oh my God, there's a need here. And look how much, I noticed, I think I brought like 15 photographers that first year, right? And 15 out of 15 were on my top 20 list the next year, right? And it wasn't magic, right? They didn't get injected with something, but there was more of a hop in their step. There was more motivation, and I feel that when you have validation, right? When you can share experiences, you just approach your business with so much more confidence and energy.
Yeah. No, you just feel like, oh, I'm the only one going through this. And you say, well, no, I had that problem, but here's what I did.
Right.
And it's, yeah, that makes a lot of sense.
And maybe that won't work for me, but now it's inspired another approach.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well, what, kind of going back to the big macro level that you've been operating on, I mean, where do you, how are you forecasting what this business is going to look like over the next 5 years with the rise of AI and just, and with the big, Zillow and CoStar war and, what's,
Yeah. So it's so interesting, right? Because just the word forecast right now is so funny because, 63 days in, right?
Yeah.
Like I've shared some numbers with you, very, very happy, but it's a drop in the bucket, right?
Yeah.
When I look at it, I've been doing this since 2003. 2003.
Yeah.
2002? No, 2003. I've been doing it for that long. The amount of times the sky was falling, Zillow was coming in and was going to take our business.
Sure.
How many iPhones got released, right? The number of Chicken Little moments that have come and gone with no effect are just a great reminder that, what we do is here now. It's going to be here in 5 years. It's going to be here in 10 years, right? Like content needs to be created and the artist has value. I think it becomes more fun as we get deeper into it. When you mention AI and you think about technology in general, technology allows us to worry less about the, sort of stuff that can be automated, right? The garbage work that we have to do, right? And focus more on the craft. Right. So I think we're like at the precipice of a really great day for, what we do. And as far as like the industry moves with Zillow and CoStar and stuff, let the titans clash, right? This worked out really well for the mammals a couple of billion years ago, guys, right? Like they're after a different game. None of these companies want to be in the services business. They don't want to create media. They don't want to create art. It's a means to an end for them. Yeah. So they're going to make their entrees. They're going to carve out their piece of it. I mean, how many times has Zillow done this and failed? Right?
Yeah, I mean, they have a pretty big. They have a lot of failing to be such a big company.
For sure.
Yeah. But definitely, I mean, the thing that I always kind of go back to, like with our industry, is like someone's still going to need to go to the house,
right?
No matter how automated this stuff gets. I mean, there may be a day where there's a drone you can just centrally operate and fly in and do everything from 100 miles away. But then we want to be that person controlling the drone. You know?
At some point, you're still that person creating the composition.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. So that's it goes back to me. Community and relationships, right? That's it. Not only within our peer group here, but with your clients.
Well, that's the thing. Community and relationships. Reed, nobody is loyal to a brand, right? Like, we probably have iPhones, right? But are we loyal to in your life? People tend to not be loyal to brands. They tend to be loyal to people, right? Like, look, I've had huge businesses with very stable client bases. Yeah. But those client bases were stable because I had the photographer retention.
Right.
And at the end of the day, look, how did I get to, 500 listings in this short period of time I've been up? It's because I brought in the photographers that had stable relationships.
Right.
Those clients will follow them anywhere. And when if those photographers leave the collective, those clients are going with them.
Right.
So, I think it's community and relationship and, getting either the support or the automation so you can focus on the craft and the relationships.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think, that doing that takes action, of course.
Absolutely.
Which means it's time for our action items.
Action items.
Our action items today are sponsored by Pixel CRM, the only CRM that is made by a real estate photographer for real estate photographers and media professionals. It's an amazing tool, fully fleshed out. You can do so many things with Pixel CRM. I urge you to check it out. It's Pixel CRM. That's PIXL. CRM.com. And if you add right after that.com, if you add a little /Upmarket, you're going to be able to get a free month of service to check it out. So check out pixelcrm.com/upmarket.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
I know. I've been getting action items up the wazoo here at PMRE. So
Yeah, I'm excited to see them.
yeah. After them being in the wazoo.
Yeah. Just rinse them off.
I'm trying to think of something I have actually learned at PMRE that I can throw out there. My action item is to, how do I want to frame this? I'm going to be inspired by of all people Murray yesterday, Murray the magician.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah. And I do think he had this whole I don't know, the acronym MAGIC or whatever, but I do think this is a very nebulous action item, but try to instill some wonder into your business or something. This is terrible.
I think I know where you're going. I don't think it's terrible.
Okay, I don't know where I'm going, but of just I don't know. It was fun. It was nice to just have something that there was meaning behind it, but it was fun. So I guess my action item is to take some inspiration from art that moves you, and and try to think of a way that you can be inspiring in the content you're creating for your business.
Absolutely, yeah. I like that.
Yeah, it's one of my worst, but it's all right. You're gonna.
I don't know. Sense of wonder. I think sense of wonder is huge. I mean, I would say to me that translates to find your excitement, right? Because when we're excited, we're so much more effective. We've got so much more energy, right? And I think Murray, that is a big piece of his message, right?
Mm-hmm.
When you think about it was motivation, attitude, gratitude,
right?
Investment, and somebody tell me what the C was. I don't remember the C word. I think I'm going to go with community.
Yeah. For us, magic means community.
But you think about motivation and attitude, right? And we've all had the days you wake up, and if you got a 9 to 5 you hate, right? You wake up and you're like, oh, it's Monday, right? And then you're like, I'm living for Friday, right? That's a horrible place to be.
Yeah.
So I find your wonder because if we can do the work on ourselves and our mindset to find our wonder, to remind ourselves why we're here and realign ourselves with whatever our personal vision is, those days get a lot easier. Find your wonder. I like it.
All right.
Yeah, it's not a shitty one.
One of my best action items.
It is.
After I got massaged by Vince.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. All right, well, now you got some living up to do here.
Now I've got to give you an action item.
Yeah,
oh,
exactly.
shit.
Yeah.
Look, coming out of PMRE, I would say challenge yourself to learn one thing, right? And do that, repeat that every day, right? And what I mean by that is, look at PMRE and whatever the next video is that this person's scrolling onto, right? There's somebody that's put together work, right? They've put together content on a topic, right? And it's so easy for us to discount that because it's not the same message, or they work in a different market, or they work in a different business. It's not relevant to us. But the challenge is to really dissect it, break it down, and find your value, right? That you can take from that content piece. And, that's not when content creators do it right and the algorithm matches you up with a topic that you're interested in. It's effortless, right? You don't need to do it. But when you can master that effort, you start to look at the world completely differently. There is not one soul on this earth that I can't learn something from. And there's not one video that can't give me a new thought. And, sort of as business owners, as artists, as human beings, right? What is life other than the quest for knowledge? So I would say learn one thing. That would be my action item.
All right. And so
Was that okay?
Yeah,
Okay.
it was. I mean, not as good as mine, but it was
Yeah,
it was really good though.
Yours had me.
Yeah, and so thank you very much for spending some time with me
course.
here, and of course, thank you to Molly. I didn't introduce you in the beginning, but Molly is here, very tired, out dancing very late last night, but she's
still dancing.
She's producing away. Thank you, Molly, and. Thank you to all the viewers, all the listeners. Without you all, we got nothing. So we appreciate you and thank you.
Upmarket is a production of Upmarket Studios. This episode was produced by Chelsea Froelich and edited by Bethany Diedrich. Thank you so much for listening, and we really hope you listen to the next one too. In the meantime, our wish for you is to not have to shoot any Friday night Twilight shoots. Thank you for everything.